Um, if you saw it last time, then we're going to try cutting down on the giggling. Well, we don't have any giggly girls other than Kiran this time around. But yeah, so we're going to jump straight into it. Firstly, Kiran's back, not being giggly. And we've got this time Jared in from Brazil directly.
We're done.
Yeah. Jared, you want to show us, show everyone that fantastic image of Copacabana that you were showing us about 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, no worries. So I was quite fortunate with the hotel room that we ended up getting. We booked for something completely different, but there was a bit of a stuff up, and yeah, they just ended up giving us 2 different rooms for myself and my cousin who I'm traveling with. And yeah, then turns out the room that they got, which you can stay in whichever. So the room that they gave us turned out to be on the top level with a pretty awesome view. So
that's some pretty good luck.
That's the view there. Yeah. That's the view there. It's just so we are a block away from Copacabana, which is the beach that's in front of us. It's probably the most commercial of all the beaches in Rio. There's Lima, there's Leblon, there's Botafogo, to name a few. But this is amazing. You can there was a bit of a protest on the street earlier. The usual against FIFA. So there are a couple of news cameras covering that as well. So, beyond that, on the street, you can see a whole number of people walking up and down. Now they are on the way. The ones going to the left of the screen, they're on their way to the Fan Fest, which is just a couple of blocks, about 4 blocks over. The Fan Fest is a place that you have to see at least once while you're in Rio. When I was there, I went there for the opening ceremony, and it was about 20,000 people. The line was you were waiting in line for almost half an hour to get in, and it was just mental. Just packed with everyone from every part of the world that are here to watch the game. I met another New Zealander there, which was a little bit random, but yeah, it's just absolutely packed. And probably one of the most kick-ass atmospheres you can imagine. So if you enjoy your football, yeah, definitely a place you had to go see.
That's fantastic. I mean, I can't imagine being in Brazil for the World Cup. We are so incredibly jealous right now. I was going to ask, it's at the beach at any, like, I mean, could you sit on Copacabana, for example, and have, like, is there a projector screen that they could put up where you could just sit there and chill out and watch?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that. You can sit on Copacabana and do what exactly?
I was asking, I mean, do they have screenings at the beach itself? Where, I don't know, putting out like a projector screen or something?
Fan Fest is on the beach.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So, but you saw a couple of little kiosks as well. So there are stalls set up along the entire beach. So, like Goa, you've got all the shacks set up along the beaches, each of them selling their own stuff. Exactly the same thing here, but now here just about every kiosk has its own little flat screen TV, and they're screening the games, every game.
That is an experience. Right, we're gonna stop sort of going gaga over our jealousy of you.
And 6 Real Caipirinhas, that's all you can ask for, man.
Cool, right, so let's get on to the football. We've just seen 2 pretty decent games. First off, Spain, Australia. Spain finally getting something going a bit too late in terms of the actual tournament hopes. But yeah, 3-0 scorers were Villa in what is probably his last game for Spain, which is a momentous event in itself. Torres got on the score sheet and Juan Mata to wrap it up. I don't know, Kiran, were you able to catch any of that game?
Yeah, I was actually. It was like a classic case of too little, too late, probably. But it was nice to see some Spanish goals at last, and also slightly surprising that it was the old guard stepping up to score those goals. So basically, at least Torres and Villa. So, firstly, what a finish by Villa, man. I mean, that was what a way to sign off. What a goal. What a way to sign off. And it's been fun watching him. He was a key component of Spain's domination. And I think they've made a big mistake not playing him in the earlier matches, especially against the Dutch, bringing on Torres rather than Villa. I think they've burnt their fingers a little bit by starting Costa, and I think this is a lesson they'll learn. They'll probably need to, make sure a man fits the system rather than molding the system around the single man.
Yeah, fair enough. Jared, were you able to see any of the Spain game, and what did you think? I mean, finally they're finally back among the goals, and Torres and Villa, back looking like it's back in 2008.
Absolutely. I mean, it's. I mean, a bit of what Kieran said. Yeah, it was just too little. At the same time, it was always going to happen. I mean, I was begging for Villa to start against Chile. I think it was great to go with to try Diego Costa. He's had a great season, and they had to pick a man based on the season. Costa did not fit in the Spanish team. He's a different kind of player, a target man sort of player, who's phenomenally talented. There's nothing against him, but it was a system that was never built for him to play in. And when you've got 3 goals, all 3 of them were balls over the top, through balls that were finished off, and in some element or the other. And you see that happening, and you go, well, this is the Spain I know, and last decade or so. Also, in the line, he was not making the same sort of runs. And I was just thinking, I was like, watching them play, I was like, yeah, this is the Spain team. This is what they do. And yes, that they are capable of being a force. They scored against Chile. They scored 2 against the Dutch. It's not that they are incapable. It's not a team that is incapable. I mean, I am slightly biased, but it is. It was one of the best Australian teams that we've put through for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading previews before the game, and I think, I mean, the way I saw it in what I read is I think this game mattered a bit more to Spain than it did to Australia. I think Australia had already sort of done themselves proud in terms of the way they'd performed against both the Netherlands and Chile, even if they couldn't get any sort of result out of it. Whereas Spain, had a depressing campaign, and not that this result changes that, but at least they can end on somewhat of a good note. So yeah, that was good to see. I think Juan Mata's goal also. I think that's his first ever World Cup goal, and you'd expect him to be an integral part of the Spanish setup in the future. So good to see him get going. Meanwhile, the other game, Netherlands-Chile, that was essentially a straight shootout for the top spot in the group. And I don't know. I mean, I think it was at times cagey, at times end-to-end. All what you expect from any game in which there is something that's actually riding on it. But I think Netherlands just had that extra bit of quality at the end. And I think Chile's defending, especially the first goal, was a bit suspect, and I think anyone, whether it's Brazil or Croatia or whoever they play in the next round, they might have taken note of that. Jared, I'll put this back to you. What do you think of the Chile-Netherlands game?
Fun game to watch. I was watching that over lunch, in fact. But yeah, I missed the start of it. Was Van Persie out injured, or was he just rested? Okay.
Van Persie was out with a suspension because he'd gotten 2 yellow cards from the first 2 games. So.
Right, okay. That makes sense, yeah. But yeah, no, great game. It was fun to watch. I have to be honest, I was watching Spain-Chile at the Maracana, and I was sitting with probably what felt like 70,000 odd Chileans wearing a Spanish jersey. I was kind of rooting for the Netherlands to win just because the Chileans have not stopped. There's a chant that the Chileans are doing at the game. It goes, chi, 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 le, le, le. Chile, and that's it. But I could hear that chant's been going on for the last 3 days. It's not stopped. Like last night, I was out with some friends, and I could still hear that. I would still hear the chant. You're just going, yes, you beat Spain, congratulations, but get over it. I was kind of hoping for the Dutch to win, and so I'm kind of glad that they did. It was great. Two pretty well worked goals. The first one had an element of scrappiness about it, but great finish, great header. Top corner, couldn't keep it in, stand a chance. The second one was more for tapping than anything else, but Iron Robin, he's phenomenal. And like that, he's player of the season, or Golden Ball winner, in my opinion, so far.
Yeah, no, Arjen Robben, I mean, you can't call it a breakout tournament because obviously he's been around for ages. But, I mean, that was a question I was going to ask you anyway, Kiran. I had this thought watching him play today, and it's a different sort of, I mean, yes, he had his moments of selfishness and times where he shot when he could have passed and all of that. But you'd have to imagine if Netherlands, say, make it even to for example, the semi-finals, not even if they don't get to the final. I think Arjen Robben would be a pretty respectable candidate for the Golden Ball award. Would you think?
I'd say so. I mean, I've been a big Robin fan for years now. I mean, he used to be the rare example of a Chelsea player I actually cared about. But no, I mean, he's got fantastic dribbling skills. He can definitely beat a man. He's not afraid to take defenders on, and he's shown us more often than not, that he can finish. So I actually think he's really come into his element, so to speak, at this tournament. So he is a pretty good candidate, you would say. I mean, I think if I'm not wrong, he should be leading the. No, he's not leading the scoring charts as of yet. But you won't go too far wrong if you place a bet on him finishing top scorer too, because quite frankly, he and Van Persie are going to be the two main sources of goals for Netherlands, and you can bet that it will usually be one supplied by the other. So coming to his chances of Golden Ball, I mean, we all saw the final in 2010, and he had a really great opportunity to win it for Holland, and he messed it up so bad with the penalty. So I think he's someone who still has a few personality wrinkles to iron out maybe, but on his game he's a fantastic player, and he's one of the best, right up there in the top 5 footballers living right now, I think. So yeah, pretty much he's got a good chance to be the Golden Ball winner, barring any embarrassment that they might face in the pre-quarters, and that'll at the rate they're playing, I think that'll simply be down to being overconfident.
Cool. Okay, so that's that wrapped up. We've got at the end of it, we've got Netherlands winning the group and Chile finishing second. So Netherlands will play whoever the runner-up is in Group A, and Chile will play the winner. So we're expecting, I think, and now let's get into this. I think we'd expect Brazil to win this group and one of Mexico or Croatia to finish second. Let's go to Mexico-Croatia first, and then we can save the meat of it for of the rest of the discussion for the Brazil game. Yeah, Mexico and Croatia, I'd say two fairly evenly matched teams, and Croatia coming off a pretty big result, that 4-0 win to get their campaign going against Cameroon. But also Mexico can feel fairly confident given the way they played against Brazil, even though it only ended up as a 0-0. So yeah, I think I'd call it a pretty even game. Kiran, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think Croatia have a huge boost thanks to Mandzukic coming back, and he was very much on fire against Cameroon. Notwithstanding that daft moment from Alexander Song, I think Croatia have got a fantastic midfield that's really come of age with Rakitic and Modric. And having a finisher of the caliber of Mandzukic up top really helps them, I think. So overall, I mean, but then again, Mexico are no lightweights themselves. Guillermo Ochoa seems to be in the form of his life so far. He was absolutely unreachable against Brazil. So and we all know Javier Hernandez. We all know how much of a goal threat he can be. So I think it's a pretty even game. Right? I'm actually looking forward to it more than the Brazil game because it's such a crunch match. It's such a crunch match. Who dares wins?
Yeah. You mentioned Guillermo Ochoa briefly there. Jared, you're in Brazil. I'm imagining Ochoa is one of the most hated people in the country right now for stopping everything that Brazil threw at him in the last game.
Um, well, yeah, he's not hated as such, but I think from what I've gathered from majority of the Brazilians that I've spoken to, they felt that there were a couple of really good saves, but the rest of it was just sloppy finishing by the Brazilians themselves. There was one absolute blinder of a save that he pulled out. I think it was of Neymar, bottom corner. He just managed to save it off the line. But then the rest of it all, they said it was reaction saves. And I wouldn't necessarily say that this guy is one of the best keepers in the world at the moment, but considering he is a free agent, and I would have imagined like a few scouts would have actually spotted him by now. But he's not hated as much as someone as anyone else really. I don't think there's anything per se, but I'm really excited for this game. I think this game is going to be an absolute cracker. I've got it on for my TV here as opposed to the Brazil game, which as much as I love to watch, I think Croatia and Mexico is going to be a bit better. Javier Hernandez on the bench for it as well. I've got the lineups here if guys want me to swap to it.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and just tell us what the lineups are. Essentially, I mean, the key battle that I'm looking at there is the Mexican defense, first of all, going up against Mandzukic and Olic, and the creativity from Rakitic and Modric. So, I mean, I'm assuming is Marquez starting again, or?
Sorry, whom?
Just in fact, just tell me, just the back line for Mexico. Who, in front of Ochoa, who do you have?
Backline for Mexico. Ochoa and the goal, obviously. You've got Aguirre, Rodriguez, Marquez, Moreno, and Layun. In midfield, you've got Herrera, Vasquez, Guardado, with Dos Santos and Perlata up front. And the rest of them on the bench, of course. Mexico, you've got Pleticosa in goal with Serna, Coluca, Lovren, and Vasalco. In midfield, you've got Rakitic, Modric, and Pjanic. And up front, of course, you've got Perisic with Mandzukic and Olic.
Yeah.
So I think Croatia have what it takes to get past these guys. I'd like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing Mexico go through, but I just don't think it will happen. I think Croatia are a better team. Even though Mexico did get a result against Brazil, I thought Croatia were missing the vital component in Mario Mandzukic for that first game, and having him back, and as Kieran said, he was on fire against the Cameroonians. So I expect to see a lot more of this game in this game, especially considering he's got the backup of Olic, he's got the vision of Perisic and Modric in midfield to be able to keep supplying him with chances. And Mandzukic might miss a few every now and then, but he does know how to put a few of them in the back of the net as well.
Yeah. No, I think you've summarized it pretty well there. Kiran, I'm just going to focus on a couple of key things. But like I was saying earlier, the front line for Croatia, you have Mandzukic, Olic, and Perisic going against the Mexican defense. This is a Mexican defense that, as of now, hasn't conceded a goal yet, but they also haven't had to play against a player like Mandzukic. So, how do you see that battle panning out?
Like I said, the Croatian midfield is quite good, but their forward line is no less either. I mean, Perisic is a good guy to bank upon. Mandzukic has shown what he can do, especially in the game against Cameroon. And I actually think if Croatia are to get past Mexico today, I think Ivica Olic will actually have a lot of a huge part to play, so to speak, because he's one seasoned performer. He's been there. He knows the biggest stages. He's been a wonderful finisher throughout the years. And I think his experience, his know-how, his calmness in this sort of crunch situation where the winner is going to go through is going to matter a lot actually. So I think the quality of Mandzukic is going to count for a lot, but I also think there will be a very big key part for Olic to play today. And
And
then again, coming to like you said, Mexico haven't really faced anyone like Mandzukic, but then again, Mexico faced Neymar, and they did come out pretty okay. They have Rafa Marquez, another seasoned campaigner, marshalling their defense. They have Ochoa in brilliant form, and well, if this World Cup is having its script written by Hollywood, you'd see another masterclass from Ochoa. And Mexico somehow surviving and beating the odds and going through. But it's a really tight match. I don't think I can call it that well. Croatia clearly have the better midfield, the better strike force, but it's been a World Cup full of uncertainties, so you never know.
fair enough. Jared, would you agree that Croatia, on paper, have the better lineup in midfield and up front? Because I mean, I've always liked the look of people like Moreno and Guardado in the Mexican midfield. But I mean, I don't know if they're good enough against Modric and Rakitic, but I mean, I think Mexico has a decent midfield of its own. So, what would you say about that?
I think in midfield, definitely Croatia have better. I think I'm a massive fan of Modric. I think he's probably a phenomenal midfielder who's great vision, but great on the ball, and it's not as bad defensively as people make him out to be. But even if he was, he's got Rakitic and Pranjic who are sitting in behind him and who are highly class as well. So I think on paper Croatia or Mexico as far as midfield is concerned. Up front is I don't know. I think up front they'd almost just about be on par. In my opinion. I think Mandzukic, yes, he's a striker, but then you've also got. I mean, we already touched on Hernandez Hernandez in the back. You've also got Hernandez on the bench rather. But you've also got Buffalo, pretty damn good attacking mid or striker or winger, whatever you want to call him. And Peralta is keeping Chicharito out of the side, so I mean, you can't really say he's not exactly good either. So I think up front, I think they are both very, very strong. I think this game will be won. I think we'll see a few goals in it, personally. I think both defenses are a bit shotty. I mean, Korluka and Suna are not good, but they aren't 26 anymore. Well, I'm sure Korluka's not 26 anyway, but yeah. But at the same time, Suna's got a bit of age to him as well. I think both have fairly leaky defenses. I mean, but I think we'll see a few goals. I think I'm saying 4 goals all up. I think 3-1 final score going to Croatia.
You're saying 4-2 Croatia? Did you say? Sorry.
3-1 to Croatia. I'm saying. Well, I'm gander a guess at, but I've been wrong about just about every game this World Cup. Well, this season, my teams in general have done really badly. So I wouldn't necessarily be putting money on me.
Fair enough. So you're saying a lot of goals. You expect to see a lot of goals in this game. Kiran, just briefly, carrying on from that, and before we move on to the next to the Brazil game, just to figure out how this game will look tactically, because we've seen 2 different Mexico teams. We've seen one that is against Cameroon, where they were pretty much dominating the play, and then against Brazil, where obviously, I mean, they weren't defensive, but obviously in that sort of game, you'd expect Brazil to take more of the initiative. Whereas you've seen Croatia again dominating against Cameroon, but also taking the attack to Brazil. And I think with some better luck, they could have done a lot more damage to the Brazilian team in that opening game. So would you expect to see a more open sort of fixture where both teams are absolutely going at it, or how do you see that particular tactical battle playing out?
Well, I think this basically highlights the difference in approach from both teams. I mean, while you see Croatia, undoubtedly they're having one of the best spells of their national team ever, with a lot of talents blooming in Mandzukic, Modric, and Rakitic. I think they're playing with a certain joy of abandon, so to speak, maybe, while going forward, trying to make things happen, being direct. Whereas Mexico have been a lot more adaptive. I mean, both teams went out against someone like Cameroon, who, knowing that they have the better technical players, and Cameroon will be looking to hustle and harry. So I think both teams went out against Cameroon with an attacking mindset to do as much damage early on, so they won't be quite worn down by the Cameroonian assault. So I think in that way, Mexico just played the odds better. I mean, both teams did well against Cameroon, took the same approach and scored. And against Brazil, while Croatia took the attack to Brazil, and it's true, they were unlucky, they could have done better. But you also have to give credit to Brazil, because they did definitely have the better technical players in their side over Croatia. This was something that Mexico managed to realize, and they didn't quite adopt the same cavalier approach. So they defended well, they were disciplined, they were focused, and they had a keeper who was definitely, doing his best Gandalf impression. I mean, he did not want to let in a goal there. So I think the approach there was good. We might see something similar today, because Mexico know what sort of a threat Croatia pose. They've got a fantastic midfield and attacking, and an attack up front, and they're going to be looking to be direct, because it is a do or die game. And whereas Mexico again will be looking to marshal their discipline. So I think it'll actually play out to be a relatively tight game in the sense of the score line, but I think it really will be open-ended, on a free-flowing sort of game, because Mexico are going to sit, let Croatia enjoy their position, and look to break as often as possible, especially through the pace of Dos Santos. So I think eventually, well, you'd place your bet on Croatia probably edging past them, but I think it's going to be a very enterprising 2-2 draw.
2-2. So yeah, both of you have gone for 4 goals there. One of you going 2-2, and Jared going for the 3-1 win to Croatia. Just as a reminder, the big difference is that Croatia absolutely need to win this game. A draw isn't good enough for them, whereas a draw would be good enough for Mexico, and I think that would probably affect the game a lot. I think you could see Croatia going at it from the absolute start and looking for an early goal. I'm going to agree with Jared on this one. I think I also see it going maybe, I think in fact the same scoreline as well. I'd probably say a 3-1 to Croatia, and you'd see them in the next phase. And yeah, so moving on to the other game in this group, the Brazil versus Cameroon. Jared, I'm imagining the Brazilian fans, are still expecting a lot more from their team. I mean, not necessarily that they have something to prove, but just they were sort of, they weren't at their best against Croatia, but got the result. They again weren't at their best against Mexico, and this time couldn't get the result that they would have preferred. And this time now they have the opportunity to play a team that is considerably weaker than the opposition they faced, and I don't know. I'm assuming that the Brazilians would be expecting, to see free-flowing football and a lot of goals, just to see have that confidence in their national team again.
Absolutely, and I think not just locals. I think everyone wants to. I mean, everyone here wants to see Brazil do well in the World Cup. I don't think anyone here is coming. Well, Argentinians aside, are coming here to hope for something else. But yeah, I mean, this Brazilian squad has been a little bit lackluster, and it's a lot to be made about Neymar, Oscar, and the team. But from what I've seen from either games, and I'm not alone with having these sentiments, they've just, I don't know, just lacked a little bit. It feels like they're just missing something. And, but that being said, I think against a squad like Cameroon, yeah, they've got definitely a weaker squad. I think that they should put the squad. You got to remember that the Cameroon squad is really very, very physical. They have the meager, the quick style of play. They try to impose themselves on the field, and they do it pretty well. And it'll be interesting to see how this Brazilian squad reacts to that. And at the end of Cameroon, And uh, I'm personally going to really look forward to see how performs in this game. I think this is one of the where his style of play really does lend itself to the game quite well.
Yes, sorry, say that last bit you said about the style of play. Can you just repeat that? I didn't quite catch that.
I was just saying Hulk's style of play really lends itself to this style of game a little bit better than it would have against Mexico or Croatia.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Hulk actually, because we had someone before the pod, before this uh, pod, asking us what. I mean, he was of the opinion that Hulk hasn't been as effective as he has been for Brazil in the past, and whether Brazil would be better suited to going to someone else rather than persisting with Hulk. And I just want to know what your thoughts would be on that.
Yeah, for past games, yeah, absolutely. But like I said, I think this is the sort of game where he really would come into his own, like fighting in an air battle, fighting a physical challenge, and it's much like what I was saying earlier about Diego Costa. Diego Costa's style just does not fit in the Spanish blueprint, but I think I think that works. I think that's kind of adaptable in this situation as well. I think Hulk's his style of play is not very useful for. It's not very in sync with the Brazilian style of play. I mean, he's gifted, talented footballer, obviously, but I just don't think that what the Brazilians are looking for is something that he likes to look for. At least what he likes to give anyway.
Fair enough. Kiran, we were just getting to the question that that someone had posed to you earlier.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Dinesh posted that question. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, you're just gonna go out and do a shout out. Hi, Dinesh. Yeah, so Hulk and his effectiveness for Brazil. Jared's compared him to what he was saying earlier about Diego Costa not really fitting in the Spain setup, and Hulk similarly having the same issue with the Brazilian setup. I mean, the thing that gets me is that I mean, I remember when Hulk was at Porto and everyone was talking about him as this supremely talented guy. The transfer fees that were being bandied about then were humongous, like 40, 50 million pounds, that sort of thing. And he did end up making a big money move. And whenever I've seen him play, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anything that would justify the sort of hype that I used to hear about Hulk. But yeah, based on what both myself and Jared have said, what do you say about Hulk in the Brazilian setup?
Well, I think first of all, I think Hulk is a brilliant player. I mean, he's got all the physical attributes. He's got fantastic technique. Whenever fantastic technique is coupled with a physique like that, it often produces good results. So in this case, I actually think he's falling a victim to Brazil's system, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But then again, like we've seen, there's been a lot of criticism for Fred. And I think that is merited because he just doesn't seem to match up to the quality of the rest of the side, and as a result, Brazil are struggling. So, but then again, they have like a positive of options, so they really can't switch out Fred. And because of that, any player who's struggling can't really drift around in the sense where you can't really play Hulk centrally because you've already got Fred there, and there's no other real viable option. I think he suffered a loss in form. Like you said, everyone expected a big money move. Everyone was just surprised at the destination. I think he's come a fair way to regret that, and it is possible, of course, that he eventually secures a move elsewhere for a lower price, maybe, but to a side where he can re-establish himself and recreate the reputation that he earned while he was at Porto. So I think in that sense, probably. I would stick with Hulk because he's like I said, he's got the attributes. But then again, it's been an unforgiving World Cup for Brazil. If they screw it up, it's going to get ugly. So in that way, I think Scolari doesn't really have many options, and he can't really experiment with his formation or lineup simply because again they don't have that striker in the center. So I think he will persist with Hulk, and I think Hulk will eventually. Show that he's got the goods. I think he might even start tonight because Cameroon are being something of a punching bag in this group, so to speak. And I think it will be a big result for Brazil today.
Okay.
Here, do you want to put those cats down or get them a room or something?
Sorry, Jared, can you say that again?
I was just asking if Kier wants to get those cats a room or put them down or something.
I have no idea what's happening here, man. They're just running wild.
It's like a cat orgy happening in your backyard, man.
No,
Sort that.
they're having a fight there, and they're next door.
This is excellent. We're talking about cats having fights on our phone.
I just thought I'm sure
Instead of on the WhatsApp group, huh?
That sound good. I thought, hey, why not?
No, I heard that and I thought it was a bit weird.
Here for us if you guys want me to run you through it.
Sorry, Jared, can you say that again?
I've got the lineups for the Brazil-Cameroon game here as well if you want me to run you through them.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that. So, yeah, go for it. I've seen the Brazil and the Cameroon lineups, but just take us through them once.
Alright, so for Cameroon, I'm not going to be able to pronounce half these names as they should, but they've got Itanji in goal with Naom, Nkoyu, Matip and Bedimo forming the back four. In midfield, you've got Mbaya, Ngayo, Nguimo, and Ino. And up front, you've got Chopo-Moting, Abubakar, and Mokanjo. I am sorry to.
Well done.
There are some Cameroonians listening to me. I apologize, but that's the best I could do. For Brazil, you've got Julio Cesar, Dani Alves, Silva, Luis, and Marcelo, so traditional back four. In midfield, you've got Paulinho, Gustavo, and Oscar. And then up front, Hulk, Neymar, and Fred leading the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see the Brazilian lineup. Just because I was slightly worried that they might use this particular game as an excuse to rest a few of the players, but they seem to have gone to their main starting 11. Yeah, the other thing, obviously, Alex Song being suspended thanks to that daft red card in the last game, and Samuel Eto'o not starting again after starting against in the very first game. He's kind of taken a back seat. Kiran, we seem to have temporarily lost Jared, but just going to that lineup, I mean, the only thing I can say about Cameroon is that even with all his teammates not performing up to the level they'd expect, I think Stephen Mbia has had a decent World Cup so far. I think when he shows up at QPR next year, he'll be a pretty good player in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, he's been he's been carrying the Cameroon flag alone, so maybe, but I think, like I said before, they're being the punching bags of the group, and it does not help when people like Song have their daft moments like that. Though in all fairness, I think Joel Matip is also a good player, someone to watch out for. But and truth be told, I was expecting him to step it up a bit this World Cup. So in that case, in that regard, I actually wanted Cameroon to put up a bit of a fight, which they sadly couldn't do. But I think, like you said, yes, NBA is probably the only one performing. Abubakar has caught the eye a couple of times in the matches, but any good moments for Cameroon have really been few and far in between. So I think overall, they're not going to do much. They're out of the tournament. They best go out there and enjoy themselves. If we're lucky, we might see some sort of enterprise from them and will to attack and try to score, try to shock Brazil. But in all fairness, I really don't see that happening. So I just hope they don't walk away from it with too much of a mauling.
Fair enough. Jerry, I mean, what do you think in terms of the scoreline? Would you want to? I actually went and said that this would end up 5-0 or in a different discussion. But would you see Brazil looking at this as an opportunity to fill their boots?
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, I can see that happening. I wouldn't necessarily say 5-0, but I could see Brazil scoring 2 or 3 goals with 2 normal returns. I'm going to go and say 3-0. I'd say 2-0 to Brazil. I'm still a bit skeptical about how well they perform, but by the team, I think they could put 2 goals past them in return.
Fair enough. Kiran, before I get to your actual prediction, just a brief discussion about Neymar. Now, and I'm bringing this up only because of what Messi's done in the last two games for Argentina, where he hasn't played that well, but has just shown up in the key moments. He scored the winning goal, or the second goal against Bosnia, again a fantastic goal, and proved to be the winner. And then 91st minute against Iran, when Argentina had been just about nowhere, like they'd been attacking and attacking and attacking and not gotten anywhere, and suddenly again another good goal from him. And Neymar, I think, is going to have to produce along those lines for Brazil to get anywhere in this tournament. And do you think this game could be a chance for him to build up his confidence?
Well, actually, firstly, I don't see Neymar being in the same position for Brazil as Messi is for Argentina. I mean, Messi seems to be, there seems to be a huge weight of expectation on him to deliver, to carry Argentina. I see the same sort of pressure on Neymar, but it's also tempered with an understanding that he's still quite young. He's still capable of mistakes maybe, and they're more willing to forgive him. And I think this is what they mean when they call Neymar Brazil's golden boy. So I think in that regard, Neymar actually has made a solid contribution, especially in the opening game where he got those 2 goals to help them beat Croatia, coming back from 1-0 down. And he really should have got a goal against Mexico, especially that famous header that was saved by Ochoa again. I think since qualification is all but assured, I think the situations are a bit different where Argentina was facing Iran in a game where they still didn't have their qualification guaranteed, and Iran was frustrating them throughout the match. Argentina's got a brilliant attack, but then again, they don't really have a proper playmaker maybe. They've got Mascherano spraying around their passes, trying to direct their attacks and all. But for Brazil, they've got quality all around the park. They've got a lovely midfield. They have Oscar, who's actually been catching the eye a lot this World Cup. He was absolutely brilliant against Croatia, and he's adding a bit of grit, a bit of hard work, and that steely determination to this Brazil side. So I think they pretty much got it covered in the sense of overall squad depth and talent. So I don't think there's that much pressure on Neymar to perform alone. So I think any failure on the part of Brazil will be treated as a collective failure rather than it being blamed entirely on Neymar. So and coming to tonight's match, I don't think Scolari will want to overexert his players. He'll probably want to give them a good round of practice, some confidence boosting goals maybe before they face the knockout stages. So I think we'll probably see Neymar subbed off earlier on than we would normally if the game actually had any impact on Brazil's progression. So in that regard, I don't see Neymar having as much pressure on his shoulders as Messi and maybe Ronaldo.
Fair enough. We'll wrap this up now. Jared, can you just repeat what score prediction you had given? I think you said about 2 or 3-0, right?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards 2-0, yeah.
Yeah, leaning towards 2-0. Kiran, what about you?
Well, I'd be tempted to say a bit more than that, but I think, like I said, the Brazilians really want to overexert themselves, and Cameroon will want to salvage some pride. So I'll just go 1-up over Jared, maybe about I'd say 3-0 or 4-0.
3-0 or 4-0.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm looking at this as a game where Brazil make a bit of a statement, that they're growing into this tournament, and any doubts that have come up in the last 2 games, I think they need to silence those. Which is why I'm sticking by my initial 5-0 prediction. I also think Cameroon are weak enough for that to happen. Just before we wrap up, a quick reminder. I said earlier that Croatia needed a draw to get through in the last, needed to win to get through in the last game. I did just remember that if on the off chance Brazil lose this, then Croatia could win and go through. So there is technically something riding on this, but you expect Brazil to win. But yeah, that just about wraps it up. Thanks a lot to everyone who's watching, and thank you a lot to Jared for joining us from Brazil. It was great having you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and have fun partying it up with the Brazilians for the rest of the time you're there. And Kiran, and Kiran, good to have you back. I think next time maybe if we can actually see the cats on video instead of hearing them.
No, man, they're not doing anything fun. I can promise you that. There's a massive fight going on. I better go break it up right now.
Why do you see that out of curiosity? Just
Those are street cats. Those are street cats, and I think there's a kitten around there. So I best go save its ass.
Fair enough. Well, we're gonna watch the match. Kiran is going to break up a fight between two street cats. Hopefully only two, and hopefully it's just a fight. And yeah, everyone else.
pick it up, not join in.
Priorities, huh?
Everyone else, so enjoy the game, and yeah, we'll see you back hopefully tomorrow.
Cheers.
Yeah.